As to whether or not they are providing tickets for people who are leaving, I have no idea. When you get there and your fine is waived for you, you will be told the necessary processes involved for you to leave the country. But I can tell you for a fact, like it is circulating on TikTok, that the government is going to provide you with tickets. I have no idea about that. Hello and welcome once again to the channel of truth. Now, if this is your first time on this channel, if this is your first time ever seeing my face, just do well to hit on that subscribe button and join the family, because we share lots of information here that you wouldn't afford to lose on, like you wouldn't afford to miss out on. So do well to hit on that subscribe button, that red subscribe button, and then be a part of this family. Now, if you're a returning subscriber, I thank you so much for the support. The love is massive and I love you all so much. I can't thank you well enough. Now, most of the times we hear overstay stories, we hear abscond stories, we hear people telling us stories. In fact, if you've been a part of this channel or this family for quite some time, you might see people who I have interviewed, of which lots of them tell us our stories that they came to the country through an agent, and on reaching the country, they couldn't even set eyes on the agents, talk less of take their monies back. And there are lots of people who are absconders, like they were working with an employer and then left the house or left the company without the employer's notice. Due to these circumstances, their employers have placed abscond on them. If you are a part of these people and you wish to go back home or exit the UAE, I think this is a perfect time for you to leave the country.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
That is false news. Hello and welcome once again to the channel of truth. Now, I have received series of calls, like text messages, WhatsApp messages from people who are actually trying to find out whether there is a new amnesty in town, or if UAE is granting amnesty to illegal migrants or immigrants. I know most of you back home would be asking, or might be asking, as to what amnesty or the amnesty people are talking about is really about. There was this moment where the government actually called upon people who have overstayed their welcome in the country, as in when you have an overstay, when you have fines, or when you've had an abscond placed on your visa, the UAE gave the opportunity to people to actually come over to the selected immigration centers, whereas their fines and then their overstays will be cleared, waived away, and then they travel back to their home countries. Now, most people have been calling me for clarification or verification as to whether there is a new amnesty due to certain videos circulating or making the rounds on the internet or on TikTok. Some people claim there is this amnesty going on, or there is this program going on, whereas illegal migrants or people who have overstayed their welcome here in the country are actually being registered to fly back home, which I think is false. I have no idea whether anyone has actually attested to the fact. I have no proof. I actually don't know. I have no idea as to whether this thing is really happening. But to me, I have not really heard anything about this thing. All I saw was people making noise about it on the internet, like on TikTok. You understand? So if you are really here because of the title, as in UAE Amnesty 2022, then I think all I can tell you for now is there is nothing of the sort happening here in the UAE. Like, there is no amnesty. I've done my search, I've done my research, I've done everything necessary, humanly possible, to get information about this amnesty program, but there is nothing of the sort on the internet. So kindly debunk all claims or all news making the waves on the internet claiming there is an amnesty. There is nothing like an amnesty. And even if there was, the government is actually going to make it clear to the people or the public out there, like to the public, that if you're interested or if you've overstayed your welcome here in the country, you can actually come over and then apply for this grace period. Back in 2018 and then back in 2020, there was this program actually sponsored by the government, whereas you would be given the chance to leave the country, and then all your fines and then absconds would be waived or removed so that you can exit the country and then have a ban placed on you for 2 years. You understand? And if you also want or wish to live back in the country, like if you wish to stay in the country and search for a job and start working in the country, they also give you the opportunity to live in the country for 6 months, a grace period of 6 months to search for a new job before, changing to either employment or residency. So if you ask me previously as to whether there is an amnesty here in the UAE or not, my answer is no. I actually decided, or I actually dedicated my whole time reading 2018, reading a 2018 article to you. I had even finished shooting the video, I had completed everything, and then whilst I was editing, I'm even done with editing. I actually wanted to do color grading and then and then upload. And then on the second thought, I was like, is this thing really happening? So let me just give it a try and then search on the internet again as to whether or not it is really happening, because people are actually making too much noise about it. Yet I have not heard other nationalities also talking about it, because truth be told, not only Africans here in the country have overstayed their welcome. There are lots of Asian nationalities who have also overstayed, who also wish there was an amnesty today so they could go back to their home countries. So once they are not talking about it and only Africans are talking about it, I decided to delve deeper into this issue as to whether or not there is an amnesty. But by rereading what article I actually took to make a video on so that you could get the information out there, I noticed that this article was written in 2018 and only updated a month ago, like claiming there could possibly be an amnesty this year also, which means it could happen. You understand? It could happen, but it is really not happened yet. In fact, when I heard there was an amnesty, I was also happy. I was delighted because I get series of calls, multiple calls, text messages, WhatsApp messages, trying to find out if there was any means they could leave the country without paying any fines or anything of the sort. Yes, you could actually leave this country without paying a fine. You could actually go to the nearest immigration or the immigration of that state and then explain to them as to why you've overstayed your welcome here in the country, and then they are going to provide you with an out pass. Whereas you would only pay about 200 or 250 dirhams for the registration, and afterwards your fines will be waived, like all your fines will be waived, so that you'll be able to leave the country. Now, if your passport is missing or you've misplaced your passport, all you need to do is to go to your consulate or your embassy here in the UAE and then report to the consulate or embassy, whereas they are going to give you an out pass, and then you present to the immigration, explain to them as to why you've overstayed your welcome here in the country, and then they grant you an out pass. But on granting you this out pass, you are actually not going to be eligible to fly into this country, I mean the UAE, for I think 2 years. Up until 2 years, you cannot come back into the UAE when you've been granted this out pass, or when you've been authorized to leave the country for your home country. So this is the little I know. Yes, there is an amnesty, but this is an ongoing amnesty. Like it's been in existence for some time now. Whereas when you go stayed, you can actually go and then talk to the immigration, explain to them as to why you had not exited the country, or you had not exited the country yet, and then they are going to help you clear your fines, and then you can leave in peace. If you still want to stay in the country and work, I think there is also similar considerations that could apply. You understand? All I am going to tell you is to try your best. Like, do well to visit the immigration, the nearest immigration that is close to you, if you've overstayed your welcome here in the UAE, and I think you are going to be sorted out. You understand? So as it stands now, there is nothing like an amnesty here in the UAE. It could probably be that there would be, there could be, there might be, but as it stands now, there is nothing like an amnesty. You understand? So I saw one of these videos circulating on the internet by one guy I really know. So I had to enter his live just today to clarify, or to be very sure about the fact that he was stating that he was going to Union. that is where the registration was being held. So I asked him, and he was like, really, it's not an amnesty, and they were claiming there are people who are being interviewed. Is it interrogated? Like they were being interrogated as to whether or not they want to leave for their home countries. Once again, it is alleged. I have no idea as to whether or not this really happened, so I don't really want to talk about it that much. But there is no amnesty yet in the UAE. There is no amnesty yet in the UAE. If you're here and you think there is, or you've heard any news about it, you can also put it in the comment section. Just let me know in the comment section, and then let me also know the procedures involved. If possible, you can also email me so that I host you here on the channel, and then you explain things further to me or to the people out there. You understand. So thank you so much for joining me on this one. I didn't want to make this video that long. I wanted to make it snappy so that everybody could have a bite, and then a quick bite, you understand. So thank you so much for joining me on this one. My name remains Kofi Techi, and if you're a returning subscriber, the love is deep. I really do love your efforts, like the support you're giving to this channel. I thank you so much for that support. If this is your first time on the channel, Charlie, see, you need to subscribe to the channel, join the family, so that whenever I drop any form of information, you get notified and then come watch or see what is really happening here in the UAE. We bring you the real deal. This is the channel of truth, and I can't afford to make you miss out on juicy stuff and then the truth. Understand? Enough of my jokes. Thank you very much for joining me on this one. Until we meet again, just be good, stay out of trouble, and then be at peace. See you on the next one.